Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and since I knit a lot, I also accumulate a lot of scrap yarn, and I've wanted to do something about that for a really long time, but I haven't found time or really a way to make me stick to it. But I think I've found a way now, and that is that I'm going to be dedicating the whole month of August to do what I'm going to call scrap busting. I have picked out a lot of my scraps. I know I won't be able to get through all of them, and to be honest, I probably won't be able to get through everything I've picked out either, but I've picked out yarn I think I can get to, that I really want to work with, and that I think would make really nice knitted pieces, and that I kind of have a plan for. So here's everything that I've picked out. I don't have it here with me to show you because it would be a lot, and it's scrap yarn, so when I like pick it up and put it back down multiple times, it just tangles up, and I hope to have as few hitches I hope to have as few mess ups this month as possible. And I know with myself, if scrap yarn challenges me more than it already does, that I'm just abandoning it. So I've decided to just show you like the flat lay of it instead of pulling up each skein. But I have picked out the yarn. I've also decided for this challenge that it would be a good time to also get through some of my single skeins that I just have no idea what to do with. Most of my single skeins are leftovers. Some of them I've just been gifted as a single skein. So my rule for this scrap challenge, scrap month, is that I'm going to get through my scraps, and everything that is under 100 grams is scraps, and also single skeins is scraps. So those are the rules I've put in place for myself and the yarn I found for myself. So I'm excited to get through to that. I haven't found a plan for all of the skeins. All of the basic ones I have plans for, but some of the more fun ones I just really want in there as kind of a carrot for myself. If I get through so and so many projects, I can knit with that yarn. I just need to find a project for it, but I have some ideas so far, so I thought I would tell you some of the projects I'm going to do. I'm going to be repeating patterns a lot, so I think it's going to be fine, even though I won't show you the yarn because I'm going to be repeating with loads of different yarns. But I'm thinking to do at least 2 of the chunky rib pants by Jord.clothing. I'm thinking to do quite a few of the Little Sisters Romper by Petiteknit, because the 2 smallest sizes there are less than a skein. I think the smallest size is between 30 and 40 grams, and the next size is 50 grams. So going to do that, and then I am definitely going to do quite a few socks. I am going to do a lot of the Sunday socks junior, because I have a baby modification there that makes me able to knit a pair with 30 grams of DK weight yarn, and I have quite a few scraps like that. And then I also want to do everyday socks, because those are also great for scraps, and in the everyday sock pattern you also get the exact amount of grams needed for the socks, which is great for scrap yarn, so that's definitely on the list. And then I have some other plans, but I'm probably just going to be making one of those, like the Holger sweater. I have a lot of single skeins or just 2 skeins in different colors in Sandnesgarn Smart, so I thought I would get rid of all of that in one sweep by doing the Holger sweater for my son. It's also colors I think he will really enjoy. And then I have some single skeins that I think might turn into bloomers of some sort. But those are really my plans now, and as I said, I don't have plans for all of the skeins, but I think that will come as we go, and I hope that once I dive into these scrap projects that my brain will be thinking more about scraps, and that will make it easier for me to figure out other great scrap projects. I am also hosting a knit along for everyone else who wants to get rid of their scraps, so I hope we can help each other out and inspire each other. But yeah, that is what I'm going to do. We're already a couple of days into August, so I'm not off to the best start, but the yarn's picked out, I have some plans picked out, so now I just need to get to the knitting. Hi, I wanted to pop in to give some sort of an update on my scrap yarn project. I am not doing the best. I kind of forgot about this scrap yarn challenge for way too many days, and I did one scrap yarn project right at the start when I still had it fresh in mind, and then we've been traveling and I forgot about it. But I remembered on the 15th. So I've picked it back up again now, and I've made some quite good progress, but I think losing almost 2 weeks of knitting times towards the scraps might be impossible to get back on track after that. But I have been able to do some projects. I can't show them to you because they're scattered all over the house. I don't know where they are because I've just been in a frenzy trying to knit, but I just wanted to give kind of a halfway check-in that we're not doing too well with the goal, but we're back to at least working on scrap yarn, and the goal now is just to get through as much scrap yarn as possible, because my goal by the end of this is to have way less scrap yarn so that it actually seems manageable. And my hope is that if my scrap yarn seems manageable, I will actually want to make scrap yarns not just in big hauls like this, where I kind of force myself to do it, but I'll be motivated to do it in between all of my other projects, so I'll stay on track on top of it, because as you might know, whenever you knit, you're probably going to end up with more leftovers. So for every other project I knit, I just get more leftovers. So if I never knit with my scrap yarn, it's just going to grow into a huge pile. So hopefully this challenge will help me see that how manageable it is, and that I could just easily do it in between some of my other projects, so I won't have to do these like big months only focused on scrap yarn, because as it turns out I'm not really great at keeping my focus on only one thing. But yeah, that's just a little check-in on how we're doing halfway. Hi, I'm back to give the final update. August is now over, which means that the scrap busting challenge is too. It's been a fun month, or I can't really say that I was able to knit on scraps for the whole month, because I definitely forgot. I forgot about it for about 2 weeks, but for the almost 3 weeks that I was actually knitting with scraps, especially the last 2, I had a lot of fun. It's felt amazing to clear out so many scraps. I also, towards the end, started feeling that it was less fun and more stress, so I had to really work on that, and I decided towards the end to kind of give up. I would rather stop instead of continuing and stressing myself out too much over just a skein or 2 of scrap yarn. I don't think that's worth it. So I didn't accomplish my goal. I didn't get through every single one of the skeins I had picked out, but I got really far. I think I only had the crochet yarn left, and then I have 2 pairs of socks that I didn't start on, so 3 projects that I didn't get to. And I think out of all of the projects that I had chosen, that is still really good. And the main goal anyway was to get my scraps to a like better level of scraps, I guess, to a less overwhelming place. And now this is my scraps. It's still a full basket, but my main goal for myself is to keep this from overflowing. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of space in here until it starts overflowing. And now that I have knit with so much scrap yarn too, it is much easier for me to look in here and see like, oh, all of the different things I can make with this. So that's making me really excited. But enough said about all of that. It's finally time to actually show you everything I have been working on. I hope you can get some inspiration as to what to do with your own scrap yarn from this. I'm currently carrying all of my projects around in this just so I can bring them all with me. I don't think I'm going to be going through any of these in any sort of order, because I'm just going to be picking whatever is at the top and going from there. But here is the first one, and I have to say that this is probably my favorite out of all of the scrap yarn project, and that is this one. This is the Briskeby winter suit by Indiblomst. This is in the size, I think, 1 to 3 months. Super cute, a really tiny little suit. For this one I used I had 1 skein. As I said, I did count single skeins towards my scraps. So I had 1 single skein of the Sandnes Garn Thin Silk Mohair print in this rainbow color that I had no idea what to do with. It was too little to really do anything with, but I looked through my stash and I found some white DK weight yarn. I think this is Viking Garn Superwash, and I think you're allowed to mix your scrap yarn with just regular yarn. There's nothing in like the scrap rules that say that you're only allowed to use scraps when you're using scraps. So I combined one of my scraps with that yarn and got a lot of the Viking yarn out of my stash, which I also have had no idea what to do with. And I also got this super cute suit. I am in love with this. I think it turned out really pretty, and I also really think that the yarn complements each other because of the rainbow print. Had a really yellow hue to it, and the Viking Garn Superwash was also an off-white yarn and a really yellow one at that, so they work really well together. So here's that. Also, of course, I've not woven in any ends or done any buttons because I've just been knitting. So that's one of the projects. Not the most like scrappy of the scrap projects, but I still got one of those single skeins out of my stash. And then another huge project, but still more scrappy, is also one of my definite favorites from this challenge. This is the Holger sweater. I think this is knit in size 5 to 6 years. This is for my son. He loves this. He is waiting for me to weave in lens on this one because he loves pink. So he is really excited about this one that has 2 pink hues. This is what I did to get all of my smart yarn, or almost all of my smart yarn, out of my stash. I've had this planned for years now, so I'm really glad to finally have gotten to it. I had 2 skeins of this, of the colors for the body, so the whole body is knit in stripes with this dark beige and black, and then I had 1 skein of the pink, and each of the sleeves take 50 grams, so that was one of the main selling points for this. And then I used a little bit of pink for the neckline and a little bit of light grey for the bottom here. The white and the light grey I still have a little bit left of, but I think I could combine those and make a hat with them maybe to match this. So in the end I think I'll get all of this out of my stash, but from knitting this I got a lot out of my stash. Maybe not the most typical scrap yarn project, but since I'm counting everything under 2 skeins as scraps for this, it fit perfectly. And then for more of the scrappy scraps, I also have this one. This is a Little Sisters romper knit in Drops Baby Merino. I was planning to only make it in this bright orange, but I ran out of yarn, so for the top of the back I also had to use a little scrap of Drops Baby Merino in light grey. So this turned out really scrappy. But I think it will look more intentional once I do buttons, because I think I'm going to do grey buttons to kind of tie everything together, and when you get grey buttons down here and up here, I think this won't look so as misplaced as it does now, and I also don't think it looks horrible. This is in the size 0 to 1 month, and I think with all of this yarn that I used 40 grams of this Baby Merino. So the smaller size of the Little Sisters romper takes about 40 grams of Baby Merino. And while we're talking about the Little Sisters romper, I will try to go through every one of them if I can find them. This is another one of the Little Sisters romper, but this is 1 size up. I think you can see that. It's a bit bigger. This is, the pattern jumps from 0 to 1 month to 2 to 4 months. So this is the 2 to 4 month size, and I love the 2 to 4 month size because that takes exactly 50 grams of the Drops Baby Merino. So this was another single skein I had in Drops Baby Merino beige, and I got this perfect Little Sisters romper out of it. It wasn't the most fun to knit because it is beige, but I think it will be a great like classic, or just like you can pair this with almost anything. So I think it's great now that it's been made. And then I made another Little Sisters romper, again the smallest size, and again Drops Baby Merino. This is in the color Blush. This is the smallest size, so it took me about 40 grams. I think it took me a little bit less than 40 grams, but if you want to be sure to not play yarn chicken, I would say that you need 40 grams, and then you can be pleasantly surprised when you only need 37. So another Little Sisters romper. These are kind of hard to show before they've been washed and gotten buttons because they kind of curl up, but these are really great to kind of liven any outfit up, and they're really easy to slip on. They're easy when you change diapers. I really love these. And then I made one more, if I can find that in here. Let's see. Here it is. This was the last one I made, and this is the craziest looking. For this one I used hand-dyed yarn. I did not know what to do with. I think this, I had a skein of 75 grams, but this is a bit thicker. I would say the Drops Baby Merino is closer to being a fingering weight yarn, while this is more of a sport weight yarn. So even though I had 75 grams instead of just 50, I still went with the 2 to 4 month size. I had ended up having a little bit of yarn left, but I don't think I had enough yarn left to have gone up a size. So I'm happy with that, and I got almost everything used up. And this is a little bit bigger than the other 2 to 4 month size, just because the yarn is a little bit thicker. This is some sort of merino, I can't quite remember. I'm really happy to have gotten this out of my stash, because as you can see, there is a lot of color changes throughout this, which makes it really hard to work with for anything, because there are really few items that look good with just sudden color changes, and this goes from quite bright green to a kind of quite dull yellow. So I think this might have been the best use for this yarn, and I think for a little romper that it is cool with that effect, even though I don't like it for much else. So perfect use for this yarn, and finally got it out of my stash. And that's all of the baby rompers. And then I have another yarn from the same company. I can't remember. I think it's Primrose Yarn or something that has this yarn. I was gifted them because, as I said, I don't love when they change color so much throughout one skein. I can enjoy yarns like this that change colors, but it's more regular and throughout the whole thing, whereas this just goes from one color into a completely other color. So also struggled to figure out what to do with this as much as with the other one, but I figured that with how long this was, I think it was 140 meters of yarn, that this would fit perfectly for a Sophie scarf. So that's exactly what I did. I also think a Sophie scarf kind of offsets the color change, because when you tie it, you kind of also tie it all together, so you won't like get one end of this and one end of this, because it all comes together in the end. So I really think this was a best case scenario as well for what I could have done with that yarn. I don't think I'm going to keep it myself because it's not really colors I enjoy, but I'm really happy that it's no longer a skein in my stash, but something that can be used. I just need to find the perfect person to get this. And then I think what's left now is more of my go-to projects that I knit pretty much throughout the year anyways. This chief among them, this is the Stormy weather hat by Strikkesoffe. I've made over 20 just in the last half year, I think, almost year. I love these hats. This is knit in Drops Daisy in the color Almond, I think, or Marzipan. I love this color. I love this hat. I think I had about 40 grams of this, just a little scrap left after some other hats and baby projects I've done with this, and this is size 3 to 6 months, which takes about exactly that much. So I was able to make this hat, and I was left with a little scrap, but so small that you won't be able to do anything with it other than maybe filling for a stuffed animal. So I made that, and I also made another Stormy weather hat. This I made in Sandnesgarn Sunday, double-stranded. I don't know if you can see that it's double-stranded, but it makes it feel a bit differently. This is also 3 to 6 months, but I think I'm a tighter knitter when I double strand, so it is a bit smaller when I like line them up. You can see a little bit maybe of the Drops Daisy sticking out. So this is a little bit bigger even though they're the same size. This also took up almost that whole skein. The scrap that was left was super small, so if you have one skein of Sunday, you can easily knit this in the 3 to 6 month size. So those are the Stormy weather hats. And then the first project actually I made this scrap challenge was this chunky rib pants by Jord.clothing. This is in Drops Merino Extra Fine in the color Greige. I thought I had enough for the whole pant, but when I got to the bottom of the feet I realized I would not have enough. So for the bottom part of the double ribbing and for the single ribbing at the very bottom here, I have used some Merino Extra Fine in the medium grey color that I also had a little bit of. So this just made me use a scrap I didn't even realize I had. So really happy with this project as well, and it does kind of line up with the part that's folded over, so it isn't too obvious that I just ran out of yarn and I hadn't planned to. That was the first project I knit. This was the one project I knit before I forgot all about this challenge. So I think this was the only scrap project I had finished before the 15th. But it's really cute, and it is what gave me a bit of a head start into this, and I think this will also make for a really great gift. It's beige, not the most fun to knit, but a great basic, and I also think if you have any blowout with this, that this color will be quite forgiving, which is a huge plus, especially with pants. And then I think one of the first projects I made when I got back to making scrap projects was this one. This is the Elskling bloomer. I think it's the only bloomer really that I've ever knit before, because I think this is really cute. So when you found something that works, why change? I cannot remember the designer. I think the designer for this is called Rillerundt. But it's this quite boxy, cute romper, and my favorite detail is that it has cabling in the side, just an easy cable here, then it has I-cord up here, you Kitchener stitch it together under here, and then you do some little leg edges. I'm not the most happy with how my leg edges look. They look a bit too loose, but I think that will just be a plus when a baby is actually wearing it, so it doesn't cut off any circulation if they get really chunky thighs. This is in the size 0 to 3 months, so the possibility of the thighs getting chunky while this still fits is there, so I'm going to see that as a positive, that this is really stretchy. And this I also made with one of my single skeins. I think it was a blue color of the yarn Arbor, Merino DK. I don't know the name because I've never used it before, but it was really pleasant to work with, and I was able to use all of it to do this. I used up the last bit to do the I-cord, so that was a perfect project. It's so fun when scrap yarn projects end with nothing left. And then let's see the rest here. I think the rest of the finished projects are Sunday socks. I think almost all of the rest are Sunday socks. I made a lot of those. I'm just going to show all of those at once if I can find all of them. At least here are all of the baby version of the Sunday Sock Junior. I do a modification when it comes to the Sunday Sock Junior to make it for babies. I like to say that this pattern fits about 0 to 6 months old. I follow the Sunday Sock Junior pattern by Petiteknit to a T. I cast on the same amount of stitches. I knit the ribbing for the same amount of centimeters. I do the heel the same way. I do the decreases after the heel the same way, but when I'm knitting just in the round before I start the toe decreases, I make sure that I only do 10 rows before I start the toe decreases, and that makes for the perfect foot length for about 0 to 6 months. Of course, 0 months old doesn't have quite this long feet maybe, but the long ribbing makes it so that they stay on. These are my favorite to make. I've made so many, and when you do the baby modification, it only takes 30 grams of a DK weight yarn. These are knit in Lima, these are knit in Sandnes garn merino wool, and these are knit in Knit Me merino. I have used a bit different grams for all of them because I didn't have 30 grams of the brown ones. I did the ribbing a bit shorter. It's really easy to customize them so they fit the amount of grams you have, and they are great. They stay on great. I've given these to every baby that has been born for the last, I think, almost 3 years. I think it has been actually the last 3 years, and all of them have loved it. I've gotten so much I've gotten so many messages for happy parents about this, so this is a huge tip if you're in the market for baby socks or a baby gift, because it also knits up really quick because it is a little baby sock on 4mm needles. So a huge tip for me. And then I also made another pair in a bigger size, but I can't find both of them. Let me just look through here to see if I can find the other sock. I can't find the other sock right now, but I have made both. I made these in Raumagarn Vandre, and I had a bigger scrap of the brown, so I knit these in the second size in the pattern and followed that. I think that is the 22 to 23 size. But I ran out of the brown at the end. Luckily I had a little bit of a scrap from when I made Sunday socks for my brother, so I got to make just the toe in this beige color and the rest of the sock in kind of a chocolate color. And I made 2 of these, and that way I got rid of this little beige scrap that I've had for almost 2 years. That was maybe like 3 grams, and I got rid of the whole scrap of brown again. Nothing left when I was done. Amazing feeling. So I made 4 pairs of the Sunday socks. And then I have 2 more finished projects that hidden here. I have the baby bear bonnet, which is one of my favorite patterns. Again, it's a really great pattern. It stays on really well and it covers the ears really well. This has been one of the bonnets with the best fit in my experience. I knit this in Hedgehog Fibers Merino DK. I think the color is called Mayday. I've knit myself a hat in this before and really enjoyed that, so I thought it would be really great for a hat. I can't really remember how many grams I had off the top of my head now, but I calculated my way into that fitting for the 6-month size. I did the 6-month size. I'm lucky I've made a lot of the projects I decided to make now before, so I could look at my stats before. That's why I weigh every single project, so I can see how many grams I use. And I've knit this hat in this size before in Drops Merino Extra Fine, so I could see how many grams I've used in that, and this is about the same yarn in thickness and length. So I figured I could do the 6-month size, but I did run out of yarn before I could do the I-cord, so this is just a little bit of white Merino Extra Fine that was also a scrap that I used up to do the I-cord. So I got to do 2 scraps, and you also can't really tell that this wasn't meant to be since it is white. It does not really show, and also when it's being worn and being tied you definitely won't notice. And another project I made that I only have made once before, so this was quite new to me, is the December bow. I also made a couple of modifications to make this work because I didn't have enough yarn to make it the way it's supposed to be. I only did half of the increases, so this is only half of the thickness it's supposed to be, so it's supposed to be much bigger, but I did not have enough yarn to do that, and you need it to be quite long to be able to actually tie a bow with it. So I did half the increases, therefore also half the decreases, and I did almost the right length. I did a couple of centimeters less because it is a bit of a smaller bow already. This is knit in 100% silk. I think the brand is called Mama, and I think this color might be called Celestial. It's one of the prettiest blues I've ever seen. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm imagining it as a wearable since it is silk and it's a bit smaller, and it's also just really cute. This is also one of my favorites I made. And that is everything I was able to finish. I'm really happy with that. It feels like quite an accomplishment, and I got so many scraps out of my stash, but I also started on quite a lot, and I started on multiple things at once because I thought, even though the scrap month is going to be over, if it's at least on my needles, I'm going to be motivated to finish it. And those 3 projects I didn't even start on, those are just going to have to wait for the next time I do this. I don't know how often I'm going to do scrap challenges like this, but I think dedicating a month to it every 6 months or something would be a good idea, just to stay on top of it. And then we'll just have to see how often I need to do it, because the goal is to just keep this in check. If I add a lot to this scrap basket, I might have to do it more often. If I'm good at keeping it at kind of this level, I'll have to do it less frequently. We'll see. But the projects I've started on, first, Oneday Selbu mittens, also by Strikkesoffe. These are great. I've wanted these ever since last Christmas when I made them for my friend. They're super soft. I'm knitting these in Drops Air with Dalegarn Kid Silk Erle. Both of those are super small scraps, and then I'm also using a scrap of Drops Kid Silk, which I'm double stranding, and I'm using a scrap of Drops Alpaca single stranded. So with these mittens I'm getting through 4 scraps, which is amazing, but I've only done the one and this still does not have a thumb, but it was a quite quick knit. I did it one morning. It maybe took me 3 hours to do this, so I'm not that far away from getting mittens, and I'm definitely going to prioritize these so they're done in time for winter. And they also look lovely. This is also a big recommendation if you just want mittens in a hurry. The Oneday Selbu mittens, they work up really quickly. And I have combined so many different yarns. The blue yarn is not in any way similar to the white yarn, and it still works together. So huge tip. And then I cast on the Anker blouse with another single skein I had that I had no idea what I wanted to do with. I hope this is enough. I think it is. I'm doing the size 1 to 3 months, so not the smallest size, but I was pretty sure I would have enough yarn to do the second to smallest, and you always get more use out of sweaters that are not in the very smallest size, so I hope I have enough yarn. I am a bit over halfway on the body, and then I just have sleeves left, and I still have quite a lot left. I have no idea what this yarn is called, but it is 100% wool. It feels quite rustic. It also looks quite rustic with the ribbing here, but I think that will be great. And since I've started, I'm pretty sure I'm going to prioritize finishing it because I don't like to have crowded needles. And then I started on another project. I don't know if you could see, but I had kind of a bowl of really small scraps in different colors. So this is a sweater to kind of represent all of those. I have again taken some white yarn from my stash that wasn't really a scrap, this time Drops Charisma in white, and then I've paired a lot of different mohairs with that to get my smallest mohair scraps out of my stash. My one issue though, that I should have thought about before starting this, is that my mohair scraps don't really go together at the start here. It was great. I started at the top here, you can't really see it, but this is pearl pink, and then I have mauve here, and then I have some chocolate, and then the rest of the mauve. And just by doing that, I had eliminated 3 scraps from my stash. Felt great. But I wanted to kind of keep it a pink hue, and the only other pink hue I had was red, and that is way brighter. So I think I'm going to go back, frog all of the red, and look through my stash and see if I have anything that will fit better and be a bit softer. Just, I think I'll be fine with doing some blues and other colors as long as it's kind of soft like the other ones. But I think this will be a really fun sweater. This is the teddy bear sweater from Petiteknit in the 3 to 6 month size, and yeah, I'm just playing around with mohair and getting all of my mohair scraps hopefully out of my stash, because 3 grams of mohair, it's really hard to know what to do with that, so I'm happy I found a way to do it. And I also am going to get this Charisma yarn out of my stash that I've had in my stash for 2 or 3 years now, and I don't know what to do with it. This is leftovers from my Moby sweater actually, so ever since I knit that I've had no idea what to do with the rest. And then the last project I started on is another chunky rib pants. This is also in Drops Baby Merino, but this time it is in the ice blue color. This is leftovers after the jackets I made for my son and 2 of his friends for my wedding. And I also use some of this yarn when I crochet my bouquet. So that's going to be our chunky rib pants. I think I might have the same issue here where I won't have enough yarn to finish both of the legs, but I have more of this yarn in different colors, so it's just going to be the same solution as the other pants, I think. But those are all of my scrap yarn projects. I hope you got some good ideas, or at least some motivation to do something with your own scraps, because you can do a lot in just 1 month, and you also don't need to do only scraps for 1 month or to do this much. If you just do a couple of projects here and there, your scrap stash will just not get out of hand. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!